Hello everybody! Hopefully everyone's having a fantastic day. I know it's windy here, it's sunny, but it's pretty windy, so it's not the best weather, but making the most use out of it. But today I'm gonna tell you a little bit about agricultural pollution and water pollution in general. I originally was supposed to be at the Boys and Girls Club doing this with all of you and doing a presentation and doing some experiments, but because of the conditions I have to do it here, which it's okay. I mean, we're making the most out of it. But so yeah, for one of my classes at Point, I'm an environmental ed class, so we had to research an environmental issue and then research about it and come up with like solutions for it and do an action plan. So that's essentially what I'm doing here. I'm just educating you guys about the effects of water pollution and, more importantly, agricultural pollution and how you can stop it as well. So just to get you guys excited, I'm gonna move this a little bit. There we go. In order for you guys to be excited about this, I am going to give you guys some fun facts first, okay? So most of the pollution in seas, I mean, they're not really fun, but they're interesting and they're good to think about. But most of the pollution in water, lakes and oceans actually come from land. It comes from the land. And some amount of water pollution is actually caused by air pollution, not so much the water. The pollutants actually from the air settle on the water, which goes into the streams and pollutes it there. Even motor oil in your cars, I know you guys can't drive yet, but your parents' cars, the oil, it can drip and lead its way to the water stream, which can affect the water that way. And this is very interesting, but a gallon of paint, so think about a gallon of paint, can pollute 250,000 gallons of water, while a gallon of gasoline holds the potential to pollute 750,000 gallons of water. Now that is a lot of water that can be polluted. And I want to give you guys a visual on this. Now, this is 97% salt water because in the world, all around the world, there's 97% of the water that we have on Earth is salt water. So we can't really do that much with it. But the water that we can do stuff with is fresh water. But here you can tell it's only 3% fresh water. It's not compared to 97%. Now, if I was there with you guys, I would ask you kind of what this means to you. And since we can't do that right now, of course, I'll just explain to you everything. So essentially, this means we're in charge of this fresh water. I mean, we're in charge of this too. But drinking water, going to the bathroom, taking a shower, that all goes down to this fresh water. We only have 3% on Earth. So that means we gotta use this water very good, and we have to conserve as much as we can. And it's so important to not pollute it because we don't want it to end up being unhealthy, because then the little amount of fresh water that we have will go to waste. And we want to conserve as much water as we possibly can and to essentially save the fresh water. So my question for you is, how does pollution affect the environment and how can we reduce it? Now, of course, we can't have a discussion right now, but I want you guys to think about, as you're watching this video, as you're home with your parents, think about how does pollution overall affect the environment, and how can we, as individuals, reduce water pollution. Now, I'll give you a little summary, a little background information on what agricultural pollution is, because this is what the video essentially is about. So agricultural pollution, it's a form of non-point source solution. And I know a lot of you probably don't know what that means, but non-point source solution is a type of pollution that can come from a lot of different areas, and it is not just coming from one source. So meaning it can come from fertilizers, it can come from soil, it can come from a lot of different parts of the land that drains into the body of water. And that's essentially what agricultural pollution is. It's a form of pollution that results from rain coming down on the farming fields, farmland, and that soil and the fertilizers in the soil actually go into the water, and it affects it very badly. And we all know you might have neighbors that have farming fields, or you might own a farm field. I know I don't, but I live by a lot of farms down in southern Wisconsin. Since I don't live way up north, I live where there's a lot of farming fields around, and I do see a lot of streams and creeks that run through it, and that can really be affected by the farming. So it can have a huge impact on the environment. When that soil goes into the water, just think how much it affects the fish in it or the life in it itself. And also how it can affect us as humans. I mean, we rely on a lot of fresh water to drink, to use in the bathroom, like I was saying earlier. So that's why it's really important for us to realize the effects of agricultural pollution and water pollution in general, and how we can reduce it. Because just think, all you kids, I know all you guys love to be outside. You love to be out in the environment, right? So it's great to know how you can prevent some of the pollution that's going on around the environment that you are a part of. So, as I was saying earlier, agricultural pollution affects the water very bad, and it affects the quality of it, because farmers actually use a lot of different fertilizers that involve chemicals, and chemicals such as nitrogen and phosphorus. And when farmers put that on the fields, they use those fertilizers a lot to manage their land. Well, when rain comes or any other form of water hits their field, and if there's a stream that's running by it, that water can actually soak up that fertilizer and the soil, and it can cause that those substances to go in the water. And just think for a minute, how would that affect the water itself? How would that affect the aquatic life in it? Just think, if fertilizers, which are chemicals, and if soil, which is dirt, sand, rocks, pebbles, and that goes into the water, how would that affect the quality of it? And we'll do an experiment here pretty soon, and I'll show you a little bit on how the process works and everything. But right, the chemicals that I was talking about can actually increase the plants to grow. There's something in the chemicals that actually causes the plants to grow up, which is very interesting. But there's a negative to that, because that actually lowers the oxygen level in the water itself, which causes the plants to die, and then that attracts bacteria. From them dying, it attracts bacteria, which kills the aquatic life in it. And that's why it's so bad to pollute the water like that, because we don't want to hurt those little fish swimming around, or just other aquatic life in it. We don't want to hurt it. We want to help it, right? And also the soil. Soil is very important into water quality, because if the soil comes in, it can cloud the water, which has a very negative impact on it, because it clouds it, right? Like I said, which therefore the sun the sunshine can't go in the water that way, and it just causes the water to not be very, very clear itself. So farmers are looking at a lot of different ways on how to prevent this, because of course farmers don't want to cause pollution. They do not want that, and a lot of them might not know the effects of agricultural pollution, of how their fertilizers or their techniques, their tools are actually harming the water. But like I said, they're taking an approach to try to fix this, and they're doing all that they can to prevent agricultural pollution, because it is something that we need to look at. And before I get into my little experiment, I just want to kind of tell you about what I'm going to do. So I'll bring this over here. So what I have, all right, like I said earlier, I'm going to demonstrate agricultural pollution to all of you. This is the experiment I came up with. So this represents the creek or the stream that's by the farm fields. And yeah, you can see a little bit of soil in there, so it's not perfect. But we're trying to represent here how rain can cause the soil. And I'm going to use this food coloring, this green food coloring, as actually fertilizer. So this represents the fertilizers that the farmers use. And then I'm going to use my water bottle over there to represent the rain. And then you'll see how the water is affected when that happens. So let's say I'm a farmer and I'm putting some fertilizer on this land. So here I go. You kind of see the fertilizer going on there, just like that. All right, and that's on the soil. And now there's a big rainstorm coming, a big rainstorm. Now watch how the rain causes the fertilizer and the soil to go in the water, and we'll see how it affects it here. So when I do this, and the water goes and the fertilizer goes into the water. Now it's kind of hard to see, but I mean, what do you see now that the water looks like? What does the water look like? I know it doesn't look clear in my eyes. I know there's some soil, there's a lot of soil in there. There's some grass, and I know it's hard to see, but there's some green in there as well from the fertilizer. So what that represents, I'll tell you in the next video, but I'll tell you what this represents and ways we can reduce water pollution in general. Hi everyone, I'm back for the last video. So kind of what we did in the last video that I showed you was the green, of course, represented the fertilizer that the farmers use. The soil represented, of course, the soil on the farm fields. And then the water was a stream that was right by the farming field. And when rain came, it made the soil and the fertilizer essentially go into the water, affecting it negatively. And like I said in the first video, all of that can have a great impact on the water quality itself and the aquatic life in it. And also it affects us because we drink that fresh water. We don't want to be drinking soil or, chemicals. I mean, that's not healthy at all. But now I'm just going to kind of tell you ways that you as kids and at your homes and everything can reduce water pollution itself. An easy way, and you know this, but don't litter. I mean, littering is very bad for the environment, and all that garbage, that trash can end up in the water, and it can cause pollution that way. And we don't want to try to use less plastic. That's an easy way too of reducing water pollution, because that plastic, like I said earlier, can go into the water streams that way. An easy way too to reduce the amount of water that you do use, take less showers, or not less showers, take shorter showers. When you brush your teeth, try not to have the water running, because we want to conserve as much water as possible. Because like I said, earlier, we only have 3% of fresh water in the entire world. That is not a lot of water at all. So we want to make sure that we're treating this water good. We want to treat this water really good, of course, too. I mean, that's a whole nother topic, ocean pollution. But just talking about freshwater pollution itself, it's very, very important. So I hope you guys liked my video and you learned a little bit about it, about agricultural pollution and the effects that it may bring. And, you know, like I said earlier, farmers, you know, they do a lot of good. They do a lot of good in the community, and we should always thank farmers because they are very hard workers. And they're trying to find the best innovative tools and systems for irrigation and other ways to prevent agricultural pollution, because it is a huge issue in the world today. And I want to see if this works. But like I said, this is a 3% fresh water. So let's say if I dump some of this water that is fresh water, but it's going into the freshwater jar, we'll see how that looks with the clean water. So if I dump this a little bit, I know that's a little bit more than 3%, but just by that, it makes the blue water look so much more dirtier, and it makes it so much more cloudier, and that is not good. So that's just a little more visual tool for you guys to see for that. And I want to end this with, if I was there with you all, I would have like a little worksheet or a little exit slip for all of you, just to make sure that you got what I taught you. But if you can comment or kind of discuss with your parents about what you learned and what interested you or what you're gonna do to help prevent the spread of water pollution, just comment below or send Lindsay a text, and I thank you for watching my video. Have a great rest of the day, and I can't wait to see all of you when I come back in the fall. Bye!